Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Synchron deck profile. It's a really fun deck that I highly recommend that you guys give it a shot. It's super cool that came out of Legendary Duelist 6, Magical Heroes, and it's probably the cheapest deck out of all of the decks to put together, to be honest, because Junk Converter is the big monster that you're going to need in this deck to be able to turbo out all of your synchro monsters and be able to special summon as many monsters as you can to your side of the field. Also, with Junk Speeder being a card, it makes this deck really fun. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on the screen, become part of the notification squad. Definitely check out our Patreon and our Ko-Fi, and let's get straight on into this one, guys. So I've actually built my deck a little bit differently than your average Synchron deck. I know every one of the Synchron decks are a little bit different, but I am actually able to summon Shooting Star Dragon, Shooting Quasar Dragon, and Stardust Dragon in my particular build, which is really cool. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Junk Converter. So Junk Converter is the newest addition to the Junk Synchron, I guess, archetype, that basically has the effect of you can discard this card from your hand and a tuner to add a Synchron monster from your deck to your hand. And if this card is sent to the graveyard as a Synchron material, you can target one tuner monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but it cannot activate its effects this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. Then we play 3 copies of Doppel Warrior. Doppel Warrior really helps out in this deck because basically what Doppel Warrior does is when a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you can instantly special summon this card from your hand, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as a Synchro material, you can special summon 2 Doppel tokens, one in their level 1, 400 attack, 400 defense, and attack position, which you can also use for Synchro material, which really helps out in this deck. 2 copies of Junk Ford. Junk Ford is basically like Cyber Dragon in this deck. You just special summon it from your hand when you control no monsters. Your opponent controls a monster, which really helps out. Just if you control no monsters. Your opponent doesn't have to control a monster, just if you control no monsters. We play 2 copies of Synchron Carrier. This card comes in really handy. I'm going through all the non-tuner monsters, and then we're going to go through the tuner monsters after we go through these. So this card is a really interesting card. So Junk Carrier basically has the effect of during your main phase, you can normal summon another Synchron monster in addition to a normal summoner set. And then it also has the ability that if another Synchron monster is sent to the graveyard, a Synchro material for the Synchro summon of a warrior or machine Synchro monster, while you control this card, you can special summon a Synchron token, level 2, 1000 attack, and 0 defense, to your side of the field. So it gives you an additional material to make other monsters. We play 2 copies of Boost Warrior. Boost Warrior is really good because if you control a face-up tuner monster, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position, and then all warrior monsters you control gain 300 additional attack points. We play a single copy of Junk Servant. Junk Servant helps out a little bit because if you control a face-up junk monster, you can instantly special summon him from your hand. And we play Junk Converter, Junk Ford, we play Junk Synchron, we play plenty of junk monsters in this deck to be able to just special summon him out. A single copy of Quillbolt Hedgehog. Quillbolt Hedgehog is kind of like an old ode to Jade, or I almost said Jade and Yuki, but Yusei Fudo. Yusei Fudo, this is, I wanted to build this deck that was kind of felt like a Yusei Fudo deck. I've had a lot of requests for a Yusei Fudo deck, so this is like the closest you guys will get to that. But basically what it does is, if you control a face-up tuner monster, you can special summon this card from your graveyard, and if this card was summoned this way, remove it from play when it leaves the field. This card really helps out because if it's in the graveyard, you can just instantly bring it back and synchro it away. Something that I play as my own personal tech is a single copy of Synchron Explorer. Synchron Explorer is an interesting tech card in my build because basically what this card does is when it's normal summoned, you get to select a Synchron monster in your grave and special summon it, but its effects are negated. But that's an instant Junk Forward if you special summon a Junk, or not a Junk Forward, that's an instant Speed Warrior, what is his name? Junk Speeder. Junk Speeder on your side of the field if you normal summon this and you special summon a level 3 tuner monster to your side of the field. So that's it for the non-tuner monsters. We're going to get into the tuner monsters next. So for the tuner monsters, we're going to be playing a single copy of Road Synchron. This card is really good in this deck. I just play it as a 1-of because it has the ability that if it's used as a synchro material of a synchro monster other than Road Warrior, its level is reduced by 2. And if this card attacks at the end of the damage step, increase its level by 1 until the end of the damage step. We do play Road Warrior in the extra deck, and it's a really good card if you guys have never seen it. But I highly recommend that you play 1 copy of this. We play 3 copies of Junk Synchron. Junk Synchron is really an MVP in this deck because when it's normal summon, you can special summon a level 2 or lower monster from your graveyard in face-up defense position, but its effects are negated. So you have a couple of options that you can go into with this card, and that is something like Excel Synchron. You can go into Junk Speeder, which actually requires a Synchron tuner and a non-tuner monster. Or you can go into TG Hyper Librarian with just those cards, special summoning level 2 or lower, because 3 plus 2 equals 5, and you can go into those different plays. Usually, I'll normal summon the Junk Synchron, and then instantly special summon something back like Cobalt Hedgehog, and go into Junk Speeder to special summon out all my tuner monsters to go into another monster. We play a single copy of Steam Synchron. Steam Synchron is basically during your opponent's main phase, you can immediately have this card resolves. Quick effect, synchro summon using this card you control. Good card. I feel like it's a good one of. You don't have to play this card, but I wanted a little bit more Synchrons in the deck, so I played this card. We play 2 copies of Satellite Synchron, which is a really good card in this deck. And when I mean a really good card, I mean this card is crazy good. If a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And if you have a Synchro monster with Warrior Synchron or Stardust and its original name on the field, you can make this card's level become 4 until the end phase of the turn, which is really good to be able to change and level manipulate this card to be able to synchro summon into something that you really need to. 1 copy of Fleur, I believe it's Fleur, Synchron. This card's an interesting level 2 Synchron that just kind of helps out with our plays for going into our Satellite Warrior and using Junk Speeder and stuff like that. Because this card is effective as if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can special summon a level 2 or lower monster from your hand, which can kind of help you get those monsters out of your hand. We play 3 copies of Jet Synchron. Jet Synchron is super good in this deck because this card is like the MVP, what I usually use the majority of the time for my synchro plays. That if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can add another junk monster from your deck to your hand. And if this card is in your graveyard, you can send a card from your hand to the grave and then special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. And you can only use 1 Jet Synchron effect per turn, each effect per turn, and only once that turn, which is pretty cool. And then we play a single copy of Glow Bulb because it is the OG. It is the OG synchro tuner monster to make all sorts of different crazy plays. So that's it for the monsters, guys. We don't play any hand traps in this deck because basically we're just going for synchros and we have plenty of negates with those, so we're not that worried about that. It's a lot of monsters. I believe it's 26 monsters, something like that. It's a lot of monsters. So for the spells, we're going to be playing 1 copy of Monster Reborn. It's basically just an extender. 1 copy of Pot of Avarice. I had to cut a couple of cards in the extra deck to make it so I could fit a couple of other cards. The extra deck space is really tight in this deck, so basically you play Pot of Avarice. So if you go through your TG Hyper Librarian, your Junk Speeder, something like that, you can shuffle it back with Pot of Avarice later in the game if you get to later in the game with this deck, because usually you're going to OTK your opponent. A single copy of Reinforcements of the Army because we play a lot, and I mean a lot, of warrior monsters in this deck. 1 copy of 1 for 1. 1 for 1 lets us special summon so many monsters and so many advantage of sending certain cards to the graveyard. It's ridiculous. Foolish Burial, we can send stuff like Cobalt Hedgehog, Junk Synchron, and different monsters like that to the graveyard to get all of our plays off that we might need. We play 3 copies of Tuning. Tuning is really good because it lets you add a Synchron tuner monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can send the top card of your deck to the graveyard, which basically lets us send just, like, you could send a Glow Bloom or a Glow Bulb, you could send Jet Synchron to the graveyard and it would benefit you. A copy like Doppel Warrior or, Junk Converter to the graveyard. It just depends on what you send to the graveyard to get all sorts of different plays off with Tuning. It just helps out, and you can get that 1 search. It's like a really good Rhoda. We play 2 copies of Synchro Chase. I really wanted to play this card. I feel like it's a good card because your opponent cannot activate cards and effects in response to the effects activation of your Synchro monsters with Warrior, Synchron, or Stardust in their original names. And if a synchro monster, if you synchro summon a Warrior, Synchron, or Stardust synchro monster, you can target a monster in your graveyard that was used as material and special summon that monster in defense position to help you get more advantage. This card just helps you get more advantage on your side of the field. And then we play 3 copies of Called by the Grave. The 3 copies of Called by the Grave basically help us out because you don't want to deal with hand traps in this deck. You just want to stop your opponent. So that's it for the main deck. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Satellite Warrior. So this card's really good. It's kind of like the boss kind of the deck. That if you, if this card is synchro summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of synchro monsters in your graveyard and destroy them. And if you do, this card gains 1,000 attack for each of the each card destroyed. And if this synchro summon card is destroyed, you can special summon up to 3 level 8 or lower Warrior, Synchro, or Stardust synchro monsters with different names from your graveyard. This card's really good later in the game. I make this always late if I'm going to make it, because it's kind of like that final card that you bring out and just OTK your opponent with it. One copy of Shooting Quasar. Quasar is really good and really easy to make in this deck. 2 level 5 Synchro monsters and a copy of your Formula Synchron or Celestial Double Star Shaman will make this card extremely easily. And it's the OG, and it combos really well with our copy of the Shooting Star Dragon, which really helps out a lot in this deck. But it's just a big walking negate, and also if it leaves the field, it's destroyed when it leaves the field. You can special summon a Shooting Star Dragon from your extra deck. We play a single copy of Cosmic Blazer Dragon. Cosmic Blazer Dragon is an alternative route if you want to go for Cosmic Blazer Dragon instead of Shooting Star Dragon, but I wanted to play both because you can get both out in this deck fairly easily. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but you can summon both of them. I play a single copy of Shooting Star Dragon, and definitely give us this like for this first ed. I got this card specifically for this deck profile, but it's a first ed Shooting Star Dragon just for this video. But basically what this card does is each time each of these effects can be activated once per turn, but it does require a Synchro monster and a Stardust monster. We usually summon this off of the Quasar effect, but it does have the abilities that you can reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, shuffle them back into the deck, and then this card gets the maximum amount of attacks equal to the number of tuner monsters revealed, and we play a lot of tuners in this deck, so that's not that big of a deal to reveal 5 tuners. You negate the activation of an effect that would destroy cards on the field and destroy it, and when your opponent would declare an attack, you can select it and remove that card from play, negate the attack, remove this card from play, and negate the attack, and then during the end phase, special summon this card that was removed from play by that effect. We play a single copy of Stardust Dragon because it wouldn't be a Synchron deck or a Synchro deck without a copy of Stardust Dragon. Like, I feel like a lot of people are opting out of the Stardust Dragon, but with Lightning Storm around, you really need this card. And plus, it's just a good card to have in the extra deck nowadays. And being able to just special summon this card out extremely easily in this deck, it just is so nostalgic to play the Stardust Dragon, Shooting Star Dragon, and the Shooting Quasar Dragon. It's just awesome to be able to do that. One copy of Trishula. Trishula is really easy to go into in this deck too. You just really want one copy of it because you're not going to make it all that often. You're basically going to go for your Satellite Warrior and your copy of Shooting Quasar or Blazar a lot of times. One copy of Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing is another really easy option to go into this deck. It's not super hard to go into. Road Warrior is the card that I was telling you guys about before. This card is really, really good because when you Synchro summon this card, you can really easily go from Road Warrior up into Satellite Warrior because it has the ability that you take 2 monsters, you go Road Warrior plus 2 non-tuner monsters, which is just 2 level 2 monsters plus Road Warrior. And then once per turn, you can special summon a level 2 or lower warrior or machine type monster from your deck. So you put this card on the field and then you immediately special summon out your Satellite Synchron. You can Synchro summon into your Satellite Warrior monster, which is really cool. Then we play a single copy of Stardust Charge where it lets us draw a card as well, and it's a level 6 monster. TG Hyper Librarian, I just play a single copy of this. I really wish I had room for 2 of them, but I don't in this particular build. Junk Speeder, I just have room for 1 as well, so you use it very sparingly. Basically, this card, if it's Synchro Summon, you can special summon as many Synchron tuner monsters as possible with different levels from your deck, which we play everything from, we play 1, 2, 3, and 4, so you can special summon 4 of them out for this card. And then for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon monsters for your extra deck except Synchro monsters, which is not that big of a deal. In the turn, you activate this card effect, and when an attack is declared involving this card and a Synchro summon monster, this turn, when another monster, you can make this card's attack double its original attack, which makes it really big. It makes it 3,600. One copy of, we play a single copy of Excel Synchron. Excel Synchron is just basically, here's another tuner monster, and it can level manipulate itself, which really helps. Material Metal Marcher is a level 3 Synchro tuner monster. This card's really good because if it's Synchro Summon, you can target a tuner monster in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but its effects are negated, and you can only use this effect of once per turn. And a Synchro monster that's used this card's material is treated as a tuner monster or face on field, which kind of helps out as well. We play a single copy of Formula Synchron as well. I know there's a lot of Synchrons in this deck. Formula Synchron lets us draw a card when we Synchro Summon into it, and it has the ability that you can immediately, after this card resolves, Synchro Summon a monster. And we play a single copy of Celestial Double Star Shaman. This card is bonkers. When it's Synchro Summon, you can special summon up to 4 level 2 or lower non-tuner monsters from your hand and or graveyard in defense position, but they have their effects negated. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from their extra deck for the rest of the turn except Synchro monsters, which we play quite a few level 2 monsters in this deck that are non-tuners, which is not that big of a deal. We play Quillbolt Hedgehog, you play the Synchron Explorer, you play cards like Junk or Synchron Carrier, Doppel Warrior, and Junk Converter. Like the majority of the monsters that we're playing that are not, like you have targets with Junk Converter, Doppel Warrior, your copies of Synchron Carrier, you have your Quillbolt Hedgehog. Like you have 5 targets in the deck for this card to synchro or special summon out off the synchro summon. So that's it for the deck. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a super fun deck that I really hope that you guys give it a shot. It's really, really fun to play around with. It's really interesting to see how much potential that you can actually make in this deck, because it's just a good deck overall. And it's weird because there's it's really like a difficult deck to play, but once you get the hang of it, it's really weird because there's always another route that you can go in this deck. So anyways, guys, the DarkArmedDuelist, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.